What's up, Sean?
What's up, man?
All right. So before we get started, before we get into the topic of this conversation and we fill everybody in on who you are, my first question is: did you see what Josh LeDuc posted yesterday?
With the money and the prizes thing, $100,000.
$100,000. Yeah, he's doing a world championship with Sabatoro Invitational.
That's crazy. Then didn't PGF just do that too?
And PGF is doing the same fucking thing. Like they're doing it, PGF style. So they'll have teams. I've just started kind of paying attention to them. It's kind of cool. They do like a draft and they do like a combine and very sports aspect, which is super cool. And then, but it makes sense. Like, I feel like Brandon McGatherin's been around so long and done such a good job on social media and YouTube and things like that. Like, I don't see him failing at anything he does, honestly.
Yeah, he's got a cool vibe to me. Like, he feels real. He reminds me. He's like
so nice.
Like how I feel like from when I'm around Josh LeDuc. Just solid. You know what I mean? And I haven't been around Brandon, but we've just communicated a little bit on internet, back and forth. He's been real kind. And kindness goes a long way with me, man. Like, if you're polite and kind, and not just, how they talk about like East Coast, they're kind but not polite. West Coast, they're polite but not kind. And that's like what that means is on the West Coast, if you're broken down with a flat tire, they drive by and say, "Oh, that's so terrible. I'm so sorry, bud. Sorry, my guy. I hope you have a good day, though. Bye." But on the East Coast, it's, "Hey, you dumb fuck. You don't know how to change a tire? Here, let me help you, you fucking moron." You know what I mean? It's like, well, it's getting the job done, and it's the real love, But that's another thing. Like, I guess these words I'm using, kindness, love, it's genuine. And that's the kind of vibe I get from Brandon. And like that whole an epic roll people, like all those people, it's just really good vibes. I don't have much of a voice out there for me to influence people, but good shit. Sapatero, good shit. PGF, epic roll, good shit. Awesome stuff.
I think what I love is like when anytime like I hear people talk about Brandon, it's nothing but positive, and then it's the same thing about Josh. People only talk positively about Josh. And I know for a fact that Josh pisses people off. You know what I'm saying? But like, if you talk about Josh, there's really nothing negative to say.
Yeah. He and I, when I first met Josh, we spent about 3 hours in a car together, just him and I. And we got to talking and shit. And I told him straight up, he was like, I think he was 25 at the time. And I go, "Look, you're young. That's why people hate you. You're young and you're doing it right. You're like this smart person who stayed reserved, listened to all of his fucking teachers, all of the people who've gone before, and you're actually doing what you were fucking told to do. Instead of just having to go out and be stubborn and learn it your own way and whatever, you're fucking making the right decisions early." And that's a threat to the old heads. To me, I'm an old head. I'm one of the oldest fucking heads. I've been doing this for fucking 30 years now.
Yeah.
That's fucking catch wrestling, BJJ, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, judo, sambo, wrestling. Everything is grappling artists. It's been 30 years. All martial arts together, since 1990. But just solid shit. I just lost my fucking train. Oh yeah. He's already got his shit figured out, where we made all these mistakes and some of us are still scraping by and trying to figure shit out. He's young. He's fucking smart. He's not a tech laggard. He knows his shit. He knows when to listen. He knows when to open his mouth. I'm not saying the guy's fucking perfect or anything like that, but he's somebody that I let come and stay in my house.
Right.
When he's in town, I offer him and his group of people to save some fucking money and lodging, and they can stay in my basement. My basement's pretty fucking cool. It's a training facility too, and it's also a living facility, but everything you need, even a big black hand to fucking sit in. This is check that out. That's Scott Morris beating. That's Pat Smith beating the shit out of Scott Morris in
Awesome.
UFC 2. That was the one that got John McCain to call it human cockfighting. But anyway,
No, man,
I've been around. Look,
I agree
anybody listening to this, I've been around, and I'm saying Brandon, MC, and Josh Duke, good shit. Good humans.
Man, I agree about Josh. It's why I'm on. It's why I'm on Top Team. Like I'm there for Josh. When I joined that team, like I'd been down on the island for a while by myself. I had no coaches, and like when I joined Top Team, it had nothing to do with me hunting belts. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to be part of a good team. Like I like being around Josh. It was more important to me to build a relationship with the guy that was eventually going to give me my black belt,
Mm-hmm.
And it's more important that I care about that guy because, a couple of my belts kind of came almost passively, you know what I mean? Like my purple belt I was given, we were an affiliate of another gym and that guy came down and I got my purple belt. That dude hadn't done anything but like watch me, like drill, and now at that point I'd been doing jiu-jitsu. I think I'd been a blue belt for like 5.5 years. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's not like, I guess it probably wasn't time, but that dude was not invested in me. Like we didn't have a relationship. And I thought, one day my black belt's going to come. Like I need it to be from somebody that I trust and that like, I care about their character because if Josh didn't like me, I wouldn't be on the team.
Yeah. And what that tells me about you is that you're in it for the real reasons, for the right reasons. It's not just a capitalist approach, it's nice
Right.
when we can ikigai. It's nice when our passions and something that helps the world can also make money. That's awesome. That's a beautiful thing. There's a lot of people who do it for the wrong reason. There's a lot of people who will sell their belts for the wrong reasons, and even in prestigious organizations, there was a local guy around here who was asked, why was he promoted? And the Brazilian fellow went like this, it's like, it happens, it's not all things are quality. Not all things are meaningful,
Right.
and it's quality and meaningfulness. When those are in the mix, you're setting yourself up with more success, especially when you're around people you care about and you can bring love into it. If somehow you can bring love into the factory, even in business, you'll see miracles happen.
Oh yeah, man. All right. So before we kick off and get our conversation, let me drop my sponsor for the day. It's Cruise Combat. Go visit their website. Get 10% off with We Don't Ose, because that's just Jiu-Jitsu Collective's thing. And
we don't owe you
10% off.
Bitch.
Original custom fight shorts. Cruise Combat. I've been messing with them for a long time. Most of my shorts are from them. Ryan and his crew are super rad. And cruisecombat.com. We don't ose. 10% off. All right, Sean. So we've been talking about training. That's just how this whole idea started, right? It was
we're having just private conversation, texting,
just private conversations. Yeah,
farting ideas and sending.
I thought it was cool, just especially like I told you I put that post up on Hook Post Grip about drilling pressure, and you commented on it, and you didn't even know that was my page,
right?
But like how you top pressure is developed in live training, not drilling. And my thought behind that is like, just for that, an example is I am never going to be that good of a partner for somebody to just lay down and let them get side control and bury their shoulder in my face and just smash me down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just not going to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've been recently leaning more towards the ecological approach, and I'm insanely uneducated on a lot of the terms. Luckily, there's some guys that I've been talking to that have been helpful. I had a great chat with Greg Souders, who just kind of got me started. And it's a lot of like, I'm still making a lot of mistakes in the training aspect. I think, we play games, and I think sometimes like I make the games too hard for the crew that I have. The cool part is I take note of that and I bring the game back. I just had a thought that can set the tone for this, like a way of saying this.
So like technique is the destination, right? Skill is the map to get there, is the directions, right?
Yeah,
like we can say, yeah, like drilling is good for the technique to learn the body mechanics of the technique. Do this, because when you get there, you don't want to be figuring out how to fucking do this part, right? So that's the drilling part. Like drilling, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Look, mechanical drilling has its place, but it's not end all be all. It's not everything. It's a spot. It's one chunk, right? And then you got to do all these other things, and that's what the lazy learner does. Takes this one thing and uses it as a model for all things learning, and you can't.
Right.
You know, you have to have situational drilling.
It's,
for example,
super interesting.
Like if I'm going to drill chokes, instead of drilling, like I've already done the mechanic. If I'm a blue belt, I already know the fucking mechanics of a choke. Or a purple belt, that should be done in my sleep. All the submissions should be able to be done in your sleep. You got to do what's called skill building, like the ability to get there, the ability to get to the submission, the ability to get there, and there's going to be a fight along the way. So you've got to learn how to argue. You know, a tit for tat. Like when somebody does this, I got to feel this. You got to feel all these different things. And within the realm of play, Montessori learning, and you go into actually scenarios. For example, like say instead of just practicing chokes, I got my hooks in, and I got one hand on the collar, wrapped around the collar from behind. I got one hand up in the air. We call this the rodeo drill. And 1, 2, 3, go. And the bottom person gets to defend, and I get to go. But I'm only halfway there. Or I could be starting in with my leg draped over, and I'm already almost there at a triangle, and we say 1, 2, 3, go. You know, and then that person gets the ability to fight out, and you have to figure out your way in, and you do that over and over and over and over again. It could be a puker. This is where drilling actually becomes cardio. This is real drilling. You know, it's hard not to call it drilling because it's still a drill, right? We're just doing situation drills or scenario drills. I liked what you said. Instead of calling it drills, sparring, situational sparring.
Right.
You know, like putting yourself in a scenario and finding your way out.
So that's where I went first, and I picked that up while I was on island. You know, I went to Puerto Rico when Danaher and them were over there, and they do a lot of that. So every sparring round after the drilling sessions, you know, the technique work, I guess, like it's movement. That's really what that is to me. It's just like movement work. You know what I'm saying? Like how to like finagle your way into stuff. Like I don't personally find that super useful. I can say maybe at a lower level, I was always like, let me feel it a couple times, you know, but it was ingrained in my head that that's how we learned, that we had to like practice it over and over and over again. And then eventually I'd be able to do it with somebody fighting me, which makes no sense to me now. But so, you know, like Danaher and them in Puerto Rico, it'd be like, all right, he just called the position. He'd be like, all right, mount. So it's like, I get mount, and it's my job to submit the guy. And it's his job to reverse the position. And then he'd be like, next round, all right, turtle, you know what I'm saying? Or back control. Like he called out a different position, and they all knew what the parameters of the game were. You talked about like starting the rodeo drill. How I taught my guys how to do rear naked chokes is in the ecological dynamics, I use more of what's called constraint-led approach, which I put a lot of constraints in the training. So I take big jiu-jitsu and I make it small. Like, you know what I'm saying? So for like rear naked choke, I showed them what a rear naked choke looks like, because that's never changes. It, you know, it's a rear naked choke. So, but I got on, you know, you get on the back and you got your choke arm and you grab their shoulder instead of your own, right? You grab their shoulder, and I let them hold on to my secondary arm, like where I would have my seatbelt grip.
Right.
So now I am having to free my arm to lock in my choke while they have it and they can work to escape. But also what I started noticing is it started helping develop that one arm squeeze on the neck. You know what I mean? So it was things like that. So it was just like, you just pretty much got to get your hand free, lock in rear naked choke. And, you know, we can just repeat this and repeat this and repeat this. And we slowly back further and further away from the submission, you know?
Right.
And then on top of all the other skill building, you know, that we can do just from back control, whether it's like starting with your arm trapped by the legs and then learning how to trap the arm and things like that. there was a phrase that I heard, and this is what set me like strongly down this path. And it's why my clothing brand that I'm starting is called Hook Post Grip. I saw a post where somebody said a guard is just a combination of hooks, posts, and grips. And like my head just kind of exploded, because I remember the first time somebody put me in like De La Hiva guard, and I was like, oh shit, I don't know any De La Hiva guard passes. I thought that you had to know passes for all of these different guards, and you had to drill passes for all of these different guards. Now, when I teach it, it's like, guys, don't let them put their hands on you, and don't let them maintain contact with their feet. You want to advance past their feet. And
principles and concepts. Principles and concepts. When I teach people, I tell people, it's like, don't overcomplicate. You just get from here to there.
Yeah.
If people, when we're teaching them this whole new thing, they think that there's got to be this new way of doing things. It's got to be done this specific way. I'm like, you're overcomplicating it. Just get from here to there. You know, and there's two words that we need to bring out. One is technique and one is skill. Technique is like a tool, right? That's the thing that you use. Skill is how well you use it. So you need drills for rote memory, and you need drills for critical thinking.
Right.
See what I mean? That's what we're getting at. Like we're talking about developing our critical thinking, our being able to spontaneously create. Jorge Ueshiba came up with this word takemusu, a Japanese word called takemusu, Takemusu, which means to create spontaneously. That you can know the answers right then and there, even if it's a new thing that's presented to you, you've never seen, the principles and concepts that are already ingrained in you, know how to figure this out. And like the drills, the old school drills, what that's for is rote memory, the ability just to have muscle memory to react when I'm in that situation. My body's just going to do that movement. Getting there is a whole other story. This is where you've got to bring in wrestling principles, Jiu principles, you know, the yielding, you know, push, pull, push, you know, kind of things, thinking on your toes that this is going on. And you have to be presented with all these different scenarios, just like life. Like I go through life and I have this experience and I learn from it. And I have this other experience. And the more experiences that I have, the more data I download, and I have more points of reference to cross with each other and to create bigger bends and to make bigger things. And this is like, now we start delving into learning how to learn, like how you best learn and how you can best teach and so on and so forth is your isms, like know thyself before you try to move someone else. You've got to know how all this works, and learning is what this is the topic we're talking about right now. Is how to learn. How do we download? How do we create memory? And that's what learning is, memory.
The other day, I said, you said something. Let me try to remember, because how I reference it is I'm trying to create problem solvers.
Yes.
And you said you're critical thinkers.
Yeah. I said I create creators, not drones.
That's okay. So I love that because I've always joked, right, about it's so hard to make money in jiu-jitsu. Like I'm a martial artist for a living. You know what I mean? The key word being artist. Like we don't make money, you know, but that's, I've always kind of been this way. It's like, look, I used to always tell my guys, like, all right, look, I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you access to a bunch of tools. Whether you use these specific tools or not, I have no control over that. Maybe you don't like it. You know what I'm saying? In the same way that everybody's got you got your favorite hammer, your favorite screwdriver, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like your favorite paintbrush, whatever. But like, I liked when you said that, it got me thinking more. And like, this is an art, like grappling is an art. I don't understand why. I feel like this. I feel like for some reason we call it an art, but all your traditional jiu-jitsu guys want it to be paint by number.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's not fun.
Well, that comes from military, and it comes from like it comes from industrialized learning, like in the school, like one thing I figured out when I was, as I've been growing up, is when I was a kid, I have a great memory. I memorized this. I remember the schools. I remember everything I've ever been in, and they all look the same. Prisons look the same. Military facilities look the same, and public school systems all look the same. And it's it's a fucked up modality of learning that we've learned, you know, which was adopted in like the 1920s by the Rockefellers, I think developed it or something. But we're not Montessori at all. Like learning is supposed to be Montessori. It's supposed to be hands-on, play, feel, do, repetitions, fun, not this rigid fit in boxes kind of thing. Check this off and check that off and paint by numbers, like you're saying. That takes out memory. That takes out critical thought, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does, right? We're not, remember, so one of the mottos in America is we're taught what to think, not how to think in schools. We're critical thought is out. That is a fucking enemy to any slave master. Okay. Yes. When I say slave master, I mean the man of anything, the person you work for, anyone that you are beholden to, unless you can be completely sovereign.
It's right up there with, I was just talking to a younger guy, one of my younger students, you know, who's like 22. And you'll absolutely remember this, but I remember this in my childhood. DeVry University, Technical College. Those commercials were on TV all the time. Somewhere about the time that I got in high school, those commercials disappeared, and everybody wanted us to go to college. They didn't want you to go to technical schools. They want you to go to college. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, DeVry Institute of Technology, right? Isn't that what that?
Yeah, dude. Motorcycle mechanic.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Electrician. You know, but that went out the window when they decided that they wanted to just, in my opinion, it was like, no, go to college, go accrue a bunch of debt. We don't want you to go to work immediately. We want you to continue what you've done for the last 12 years. You know, the community college where I grew up was called the 13th grade because you just went there with everybody that you went to high school with, you know?
Yeah.
But it goes to what you said. It's like, we don't want critical thinkers. We want drones. We want people that are going to do what they're told. It's, you know, like, you know, I've got a son, you know, we had a baby, you know, about 17 months ago. And like, one of my constant thoughts is like, so here in South Carolina, the schools are really highly rated. They're really great public schools here, you know, and which is something we didn't have access to on the island. And so it's this constant debate of like, when my kid gets old enough, do I put him in these schools or do I homeschool him? And trying to weigh those options, because for me, I don't want my son to grow up thinking that he has to spend 8 hours locked into a desk somewhere if he doesn't want to be.
Right. I got 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl. Oldest is 24, youngest is 11. It doesn't matter what you do, because what happens in your home is going to trump everything.
Okay.
I let my kids argue. I let my kids cuss, and I let my kids argue in the home. They don't do that shit. They don't cuss out like inappropriately. I never had any fucking problems or nothing like that. Before we even had kids, my wife and I said we were going to let them argue. We knew it was going to be hard. It's fucking hard because we never settled with, because I said so, or the way this fucking world works. Get in line, motherfucker. Children should be seen and not heard. If you're nothing, you know, I'm not into that. I'm not going to raise my kids how I was raised. You know what I mean? I don't pass this. It ends with me kind of thing. But I let my kids argue. And with that critical thinking, they're great. They were in public schools their whole time. A couple times in the high school, they went and did homeschooling online kind of thing just to get through so they can get done faster, because they're like getting bored with what they were having at school. But like, they don't give a shit about, they don't put a bunch of they don't put a lot of weight in how the world works. They don't give a fuck. We're not saying, hey, once you turn 18, you got to pay rent or you're getting kicked out. No, man, like, stay as long as you fucking need to figure it out. Look, when you got to make decisions out of fear, like, what am I going to do next? How do I make this rent? How am I going to feed myself this and that? And then the stress happens and the health happens and all this, it becomes a fucking toxic circle that you just can't get out of. And all that needed to be different was a couple more years, extra maturing, fucking letting the kids make some mistakes as they're a little bit older. And you know, not forcing them, you know, there's this whole idea that things have to be done on this timeline. It's bullshit. I'm not into that. The universe is what it is. Us humans and our egos are the ones who try to define things and make things a certain order in a certain way. And we say that this is right or wrong or truth. That's fucking bullshit. There's so many ways of going about this. right? But if we have a little bit more of a lens of love, we'll have a little more, you know, patience with one another and the way we do things. But you're going to be fine. Your kid is going to be fine because I know it well enough about your character, and just the fact that you even brought that up tells me that you're good. Your kid's going to be fine, and you can fuck around with homeschooling, and you could do that, and you be, and I'll actually let your kid decide, figure it out.
Right.
Yeah, like school, like
Had that thought.
life is bullshit out there. I don't think I want. I think I want to stay in reality, not this false matrix that they're putting on us.
I love that you were talking about the decisions we make based on fear, and like, and I was like, it took me right back into like what we were talking about as far as training goes, and all of the new students that I get who are like, did I do the right thing? I don't know what to do in this situation. And they're waiting for me to give the answer.
What do I do with my hands?
Yeah.
Like you're doing good. Like you're allowed to touch them. You're allowed to touch them, but I can't tell you how many times that's what I'm talking about. Like, what do I do? I'm not. Am I supposed to use my hands? Am I allowed to use my hands? No, use everything you fucking got. Yeah. No hold bar.
I can't tell you how many times I've told new students like, "Hey, why aren't you using your hands?" Like
it's so adorable.
But, it's funny because we get, and I think this shows into kind of what we're talking about and like how most society is raised. Like, I can't tell you how many times one of my students armbarred somebody or finally got that sweep they've been working on, and they're like, "Coach, I got it. Did you see it? Did I do it right?" Bro, did it work? Where did you end up on top? Did you get the tap? Like you're searching too far outside yourself to know whether you did it right. You know what I mean? There's a lot of scissor sweep is my favorite example of this because I didn't understand the scissor sweep until I actually watched some judo competition. And my biggest mistake with the scissor sweep is that I would get those grips in and I'd stare straight at my opponent or my partner, you know what I mean? And never get the sweep. But if you watch judo, anytime they go to do a throw, like over the shoulder throw, they turn completely around. So the guy is behind you. You got to
get your angle.
And so once I started doing that, all of a sudden I started getting the sweep. And I was telling people, I was like, you're trying to watch it happen. You don't need to watch it happen because when you get on top, you know that it worked.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We want to see that we did the right thing. And that's one of the things. There's a lot of conversation now with this new program that I just started, like I don't treat any guard like it's special at all. I'm like, don't let them put feet on you. And my guys, 3 months in, they're getting so difficult to sweep already, unless I can get them down close and control them more with upper body control. Like open guard stuff is getting so much harder already because they are not interested in me having my feet on them because, well, the skill difference between us is really high. They're all almost brand new. You know what I mean? So they know that if I get my feet on them and make any kind of grip, I'm knocking them down, period. And I'm getting on top and just smashing them. So they're so adamant about not allowing me to put my feet on them that like they're getting more difficult to sweep. So I don't talk about, nothing is special. That's really like, I'm like, nothing is special. Like this is just the basics of what we do. Don't let them put their hands and feet on you. And you fight that with everything that you have.
Right. And then guess what happens? Guess what happens with that? The evolution that takes place is that now you have to evolve into better wrestling because if the feet are staying off of you, now you got to disengage and re-engage in a wrestling match. Instead of just playing jiu-jitsu guard, you now have to go American wrestling.
So we play 3 games every night. Every night. We do something wrestling. We do something involving pinning, whether it's chest to chest or chest to back. And we do something involving the guard. And then submissions get thrown in as well. But we touch all 3 of those things every night. So like for a guy who grew up very, my first coach was a Carlos Machado purple belt. Like, bro, I did not wrestle. Not wrestling at all. Everything is on my butt. You know what I mean? It's all
Yeah.
guard play.
I'm thankful
And
that Ken Shamrock was my first grappling coach, to be honest. And then I'm grateful I did catch wrestling first and then jiu-jitsu.
see, and that's something, it's one of the other things that I'm actually super excited about where we're living now is some of the best wrestling programs in the state are around me. So I'm like, I want to introduce my kid when he's old enough to wrestling. Like I want that to be a base of his grappling if he finds that kind of interest. Like we're definitely going to give him the opportunity. You know what I mean? It's, you know, my wife is a blue belt. She doesn't train anymore. You know, so jiu-jitsu is a very prominent conversation in our house in general, you know, and but I do like, so like, that's the other thing is using this approach to training. How I'm teaching it is allowing somebody who, you know, I'm 40 years old now, 15 years of grappling, just sitting here right now, my shoulder's on fire because the ribs don't stay in, you know, like I'm constantly, you know, like, so wrestling sucks, but I'm finding a way to train it.
Dude, I put my own rib heads out when I'm on top of somebody because my pressure is so much that I hurt myself. I get bruises on my ribs from riding people.
It's like loving people to death. You know, but like it's allowing me to break down the wrestling and really train it live because, you know, like I said, I don't want to. That's a really good example. You've been grappling, you know, you've been doing this for like 30 years. I'm not going to lay down and let you drill side control pressure on me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the last thing I want to do is be the uke while while somebody sits and hits me with double legs,
right,
you know, over and over and over again. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that, but I've been able to break it down in a way that like, I feel like I'm getting to train it in a way that like, I'm not wrecking my shoulder. You know, my guys are getting to train it where they're able to
see. That's why I could never step into like a classic judo warm up. It's assembly line warm ups. I can't fucking do. Like it just wrecks the fucking body. I've figured out softer, better ways, like ergonomic ways that could achieve the same thing, if not more. You know, throughout training. For example, since we're on the topic of learning, you brought up fear earlier. Fear and heart rate, same thing. Fight or flight, getting into, you know, cortisol. You know what dendrites are, right, in the brain? Mm-hmm. Dendrites are the little things that, you know, when they're out there, right, and you're thinking and you're forming memory, they go and they touch, and their little electrical fusion takes place, and they fuse together and they form a memory. That's learning. Forming a memory is learning. No different. And then when you have cortisol in your body, when you have fight or flight, anger, fear, or even extreme sadness, like you know, panic attack kind of thing, the cortisol coats the ends of the dendrites so that they can't make a synapse, so there can't be a connection, right? So what happens is you're not learning anything, or if you're doing something, you're basically doing it for nothing. Like if you're drilling a movement over and over again, you got this kind of thing. It's going to take 1,000 times to do what it could take if you have a low heart rate, no cortisol, and your dendrites are free to connect. You can actually get in within 20 moves, 20 repetitions instead of 100. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when I train people in the very beginning, like our warm-ups are just enough. Like one, our warm-ups are specific to the content that we're going to actually go over. Right. We don't just do the same boring fucking warm-ups and just do the thing. We do it for a reason. For example, if I'm teaching leg locks with my hip shelf that I just released, that I just shared with you, we do knees over toe type stuff. We're doing like Cossack stretches. We're doing stuff where we're low in our hips and agile that way. We're doing some Shiko knee walking type, my modified version of it. We're doing things specific for that. So, and then when our heart rates aren't up, it's just mildly elevated. The cortisol isn't dumping. Now, and then another thing I do is I have everyone triple up instead of partner up. I have them go in 3 so that one is watching, see it. One is the uke, feel it. The other one's doing it, do it. All right, see it, feel it, do it. Those are 3 modalities of learning. And then the person watching, and all of them could be talking at the same time. The person feeling it can be telling the person doing it, hey, This doesn't feel like how coach did it. Modify this way. That's another thing. When I demonstrate something, I make everyone feel it so that they can talk to their partners and say, this doesn't feel like how coach did it. So you see what I'm getting at? So I get, I have 3 people, low heart rates, calm talking. I don't have to scream. There's no loud music going on yet. This is all about critical thought now. This is all about learning how to learn and doing what you need to do and so on and so forth. Now, once we've learned it and we've got it dialed in, now we can turn on the music. Now we can hit it for reps or do or situation drills or whatever. And now, because what that's for is dialing in rote memory, where it's just reflex. So we want to learn in critical thought, and then we want to drill for reflex. And both are important. There's 2 things that we have to be able to do. We have to be able to just automatically go. And that's what hitting the 1,000 reps are for. That just makes it to where you never even have to think about it. I don't have to fucking drill a spinning arm bar again. I know how to like it, but it's good to do it just for the sake of like a mantra. You know what I mean? You can use it as a warm up. Use drilling as a warm up. As well. Like that would be another thing. If the concept is arm bars, we could just do, hey, let's do flower arm bar drills. Everybody use that as your warm up.
Right. Drilling to me is
down, just get some chill reps in, just get your body moving.
Drilling to me is like Jiu-Jitsu's version of a kata.
Yes. But it should be exactly that. It should be like almost like a choreograph sometimes. Yeah. Like Dan Camarillo does really cool stuff. Dan and Camarillo. Like, I love watching choreograph stuff for jiu-jitsu because it's play, right? And it's like you are going to be in those series of movements and events. It's like flow grappling, or sparring. I like your word, sparring is better than drilling sometimes.
Josh, the way Josh teaches is flow drills, and he just I tried it. I personally, I can't do it. Like, he does such a good job of being like, all right, player 1, you do this. Player 2, this is going to be your response. Player 1, you're going to, and he can sit and put a whole class together, and it's amazing. And I've taken his classes, and I'm like, I get it. It's super, but, and honestly, there's something that I learned from him. I use it to escape single leg X that I ran through that 3 or 4 times, and I was like, now it's an automatic because it was a whole flow that got put together that day. I just struggle to put the moves together that way. Whereas the way I'm teaching, I don't have a problem, or let's not say that. I'm getting much better at looking at certain positions and being like, all right, what are we actually doing here? And figuring out how to put that in perspective for my guys and be like, this is what we're doing. This is the contact that needs to get made. This is where the pressure is being made, but then at the same time, sometimes it's just keep your chest on that dude's back. From whatever angle you're at, I want you to keep your chest on that dude's back. And
you could be doing that stuff through just grounds. There's times when I was active grappler, no submissions all night. All I'm going to do is control. My goal is to keep my chest on their back, or my chest to their chest, or whatever. A thought came to me when you were talking, something that Josh and I have in common, right? Is that he's got a lot of his instructors are old judo heads, right? He's got judo background. Right. And so do I. My coach is John Saylor. He was the head coach at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. He's a legend. And Steve Scott, Sambo and judo guy. He's the guy who trained Ronda Rousey's mother and subsequently Ronda Rousey in her arm bars. He's got the arm bar encyclopedia book and stuff like that. He's also got this book called Coaching on the Mat, and that he really delves into the difference between skill and technique in that. But anyways, all this is this new wave shit that's happening right now. All this is these games, this way of drilling, sparring, with situational sparring. They're called games, children's games in judo since forever. That's all this is. This is how the children have been taught through these concepts and through these basic kind of things. And that's good. And this is what breeds good judo in the future. But this is a concept that's actually been used forever. It's old as shit. I've been teaching this way since 1997, since I got with John Saylor in Shingi Tai Jiu-Jitsu. And, I'm a 2nd degree black belt in judo under him and a 4th or 5th degree in Shingi Tai Jiu-Jitsu. We make that a joke about not knowing our ranks because we don't give a fuck.
Right.
I didn't even know I was a black belt when I was a black belt. I asked him what my rank was. He said Shodan. I'm like, what's that? This is a long time. And it's like, oh, okay. And then he gave me a big hug for being that way. I was never a belt chaser. Like I was never gonna get belts and shit like that. But now I have a judo black belt, Shingi Tai Jiu-Jitsu black belt, BJJ black belt. If catch wrestling had a black belt, I would be. If sambo had a black belt, I would be. And then I also have a taekwondo black belt. So I have a 33 years. If you don't ever stop, you're gonna end up. I can't stay in one thing. I'm too ADHD to do one martial art. I've been a mixed martial artist since 1990. Yeah. So, but anyways, yeah, like all these things we've been talking about, these are old, just games. It's that simple. And he's ahead of the game because this is what I'm talking about. He listened to his old instructors. I listened to my old instructors.
Craig Jones.
I also am a hard-headed asshole who had an ADHD as fuck, who had to learn everything my own way. Right. It wasn't after like 2 years after John said something that it was like I'm standing somewhere else, like in Okinawa in class teaching, like, oh, I'm saying exactly what he said and understanding what the fuck he's saying right now. I get it. And that's another aspect, man. To have phenomenal students, you got to let them teach in the beginning. They got to start teaching as they're learning. So that's what the triple up does.
Right.
You're having them talk to each other. You can have the person on top with the bird's eye view being the coach. So they're also learning how to coach from the side. So multiple things are happening. If you just do these little tiny tweaks, just in your normal everyday shit, huge dividends, huge fucking dividends. Like when I was at Strong Style, coaching before like the pandemic happened, everything just got upended, everything got weird and everything. But I was coaching there for a straight year, and all the people that were coming to my noon and 4 o'clock classes, I focused more on this kind of stuff, on how to learn. And all those guys were a cut above the rest of their peers when they went into the MMA programs who didn't go through my program. I saw a difference, and I got to watch these guys win and like see just like literally seeing the shit that I injected into them. And this took a couple of years. It was like the harvest took a while. And it was a cool experiment. And I can now say that I don't have imposter syndrome. I'm like now like firm. I'm like, okay, these are truths. I now fucking know. I've proven them with primary research. I'm not listening to just other people and what they think and what they say. I'm actually finding out for myself. For example, when I do a technique video, I don't do any show shit. Dude, if it looks show cool, thank you for the compliment. If you can't do it, that's on you. And that's another time. I was like, that night I was teaching that, I was like, look, it's not the art. People make fun of Aikido. No, it's you. You can't make Aikido work. I can make Aikido work. Hell, I can make Sistema work, motherfucker. That's how good I am. You can be just because you're a BJJ guy doesn't mean you're going to win. You might not be able to make BJJ work for you well. You might just suck, right? So it's not the martial art. It's the martial artist that matters, okay? It was Hoist himself who beat everyone. It wasn't Gracie Jiu-Jitsu that beat those guys. It was Hoist because he had to do it. You know what I mean? But now we can get into the cult shit. Like I'm not using Gracie Jiu-Jitsu as a specific example. All Jiu-Jitsu, all instructors, somewhere, some way, will end up having a culty kind of vibe, no matter what. Even if you say you're not, or trying to do all the best, and you are trying not to be a cult leader, you're still a cult leader. You just got to make sure you're benevolent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, that was a weird rant. I'm sorry if you had a thought or anything, but whenever I have one of those little bursts, I have to get it out.
All I was going to do is I remember I just saw a clip, an old clip from Craig Jones on the Lex Friedman podcast where he was talking about what he thinks is the best way to learn. He was like, in childlike games, he's like, find a problem, work backwards from it. And he was like, that's the best way to learn for everybody. And this is, this is one of the best grapplers in the world.
When I say 1, 2, 3 break and tell everyone to go drill, I go play.
Yeah.
Go play.
I heard this guy, I loved it. He used to say, it was let's make jiu-jitsu. That's where I got the idea for that
No,
website.
that's awesome. That's good, dude.
I was like,
I've been watching you since the beginning. Like when you were inviting me to come down there. I wish I could have, would have, should have, kind of thing. I'm a voyeur. I watch people's lives, and it's cool. Like I get good algorithm. Everybody I've ever met from Instagram, I've pretty much figured them out before. Dude, this thing's a fucking tell-all. I am autistic, okay? So my pattern recognition is fucking insane, dude. I've never been wrong about people. It's awesome. A couple times, yeah, but it was a good, like, being wrong. I was glad I was wrong about the person. But like watching you and Josh interact, and he started coming down, and then you going under him. And things like I was like, that is a good fit. That's just awesome. That's a good dude. That's a good dude. And I like it when good dudes, good people.
Right.
And I'm this person. Like I see, like I'm Rick Rubin of Jiu-Jitsu, right? Like I can see, like I already know what's gonna happen. I knew when leg locks were coming. I knew when judo throws were gonna be a big hit. I knew when these fads come and go. I already saw them come and go. Hell, dude, I've invented stuff that like I didn't fucking launch out that is already out there that somebody else got the idea for as well, and they ended up doing it. I wasn't bummed out about it. I was like, oh shit, my brain works. I have good ideas, and I see shit. I can see the end from the beginning in a lot of things. My calling in life is teacher, healer, creator, and I just see things, and I want to create things, and I want to create jiu-jitsu with other people. I want to collaborate and do things, and I see no reason why people can't get along and just fucking like cooperate instead of compete against each other. And let's see what we can generate. Let's see how we can evolve this thing, like Star Trek, man. Like when we all get together, we can fucking lead the planet. We can have a more evolved jiu-jitsu. We can have a bigger concept and creation if we all fucking play together.
I think that's how little kids make friends. They go play, and then and somewhere along the lines is, like we tell kids to stop using their imagination, live in reality, which is weird because we're not 100% sure what that is. When we say that, we're projecting on like what
all I have is my imagination. What the fuck is reality?
For years, people were like, I was bartending and doing jiu-jitsu, and, so I was making decent money, but I didn't have that regular job. And, people were like, when are you going to go get a real job? And I'm like, I'm really only interested in doing things that make me happy. And
when real jobs become real,
but it makes me enough money to do the things that make me happy, and here I am, like, I get to be involved in the jiu-jitsu community. I've Jiu-Jitsu Collective itself has become like this catalyst for the jiu-jitsu community, which I just can't wait to see, like how that grows. Like, but all of that's from pure imagination, right? Like, it was just like, let's see what happens if I play this game.
Absolutely. Everything around us is somebody else's imagination. You might as well interject yours as well. Inject yours into the world is a conglomerate of imaginations. Different realities converged into one, and it looks different for absolutely everyone around you. I mean, it's all different. That's the cool thing about jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is different. Like, that's why I say, like, I don't make drones. Like, everybody, like your jiu-jitsu is going to look different than me. You're not going to, the only way you're going to look like a Sean Daugherty student is that you just can't tell that you can't place you. Like, what exactly is it? Did I just see Kung Fu in that jiu-jitsu? Yes, you did.
Yeah, because I watched a couple of videos, and like I've been so, like my jiu-jitsu specifically. So like this is 15 years. And like, I've been with every belt came from somebody else. And, but what's cool is I've been so responsible for my own growth in jiu-jitsu for the majority of my journey. Like, I was white to blue. I trained with one guy, went to class, drilled, put in rounds, got my ass beat, and then probably, and like I said, I think I was a blue belt for like 5.5 years. I would say the last half of that, I was already teaching regularly, like regularly as a blue belt teaching. So like I had to put in the study time because I had to make sure because as a blue belt, the imposter syndrome was thick. It's like, am I doing the right thing? Am I showing the right thing? Am I giving the right information? As purple belt, I still had that, but especially once I moved down to the island, in 2017, I'm by myself. I'm a purple belt. I've been a purple belt for like 2 years at that point, maybe a year. I'm by myself. I'm completely not just responsible for my own growth, but also for the people that decided to train with me. So I had to spend time figuring out what works, which is really
now, if all people could be blessed with that situation. Look, autodidact is the greatest thing to be. So to be self-taught. And being self-taught isn't like look, when people say you learn that on YouTube, dude. If I had YouTube as a kid, it'd be it'd be awesome. Like that, dude. I would have had shit so much faster and gotten everything done. Everybody's got different ways of learning, man. People who are neurodivergent need that shit. Like I can teach myself anything, as long as I'm clear with the information that I'm receiving.
Right.
That's where
it's funny about going back to the traditional jiu-jitsu training of drilling. I have a buddy. So when I was a white belt, we only trained 2 days a week at the gym we were at, and it was only gi. So my friends and I bought some cheap puzzle piece mats, put them in my garage, and we did no gi. And I did my best to relay the gi information into no gi, right? And I had this one buddy who showed up. Whatever the move he wanted to do was, either we were drilling or he showed up with something he saw on YouTube. He wanted to drill it 3 times on you. And then he was like, all right, let's roll. And that dude would spend an entire round just trying to hit you with whatever he saw on YouTube. And back then it was like, he just, we smoked a bunch of weed. So it was like, he just loved Eddie Bravo. He was like all 10th Planet stuff. So he's like, he would find the most wild Eddie Bravo technique from 10th Planet. He'd want to practice it on me 3 times. And then we'd put in rounds. And I'll be damned if that dude didn't hit me with that thing at least once in the round. Oh, yeah. That was how he learned. He would get his hands on it a couple times.
So since 97, that's how it was. Like being under John Saylor, like that was the modality of teaching. That's how I teach. It's like, look, what we learned, you have to try to hit it as many times as you can tonight in live rolls.
Yeah.
Everything we did today, you have to try. The person knows it's coming and it's going to be hard, but that's part of the play. That goes into the play part. That goes into the situational sparring. You can.
He was so dedicated to it.
It's all up to you.
He was like, I want this move. This is what I'm going after. Be damned. Like, I want this.
Yeah, it's hard. Look, all that that's extracurricular. People look at that as extracurricular. People look at training outside of gym time as extracurricular. Like, no, man, that's just part of the path. Like, if you really want this, you've got to put that time in, and you've got to take that extra time that seems monotonous and boring. And to become a champion, you have to have that skill of being able to endure sheer boredom. You have to be able to do the mundane.
Right. Training's hard. Like, I think people need to remember that training's hard, but it doesn't mean it can't be fun. So.
But you have to have joy and growth. You have to have joy and growth. The outcomes. It's not really the joy in what you're doing right then and there. You have to be like enjoying the outcome and in the moment that you are doing the thing to get the outcome.
It's, you're talking about belts. Like, we don't talk about belts in my gym, like, because we only train no-gi anyway. Like, I'm going to promote these guys. You know what I'm saying? They're going to go through their belts. We don't talk about it because I don't want some purple belt or brown belt or black belt to come into my gym and my white belts be intimidated. No, bro, you're here to train. You're going to learn some shit. Go train.
Hold on 1 second. My wife is calling. Here's my ADHD. Neurodivergent. I was supposed to pick my wife up at 12:30 from work. I have a car in the shop. One that just got totaled from, like, it was parked on the street and somebody hit it. Like, here's where I'm at. like I just found out I got to get my 25th surgery, my 5th surgery for my spine. I just had my shoulder replaced.
Yeah.
And my water heater went, my washer and dryer went, my car got totaled, had to buy and also had to buy a car. So like my bank account went down. I mean, everything was fine.
Yeah.
I had nest egg, everything. I was budgeted just right. And then over the past couple of years, this price gouging that took place, on durable goods, and I started going down faster and faster. I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like, I'm getting ready. And then I LLC'd Paradox Martial Arts. I got an EIN for it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start this. And then in April, my back went bad. I'm like, oh, fuck. Now, my back got a little bit better. And I was going to try to open in January, and it got worse again. And I was like, damn it. I am not meant for this. So now I got to dissolve this LLC before I end up getting some kind of IRS bullshit. And I got to recreate. Right. How am I going to make money now? 2024 is my last year of teaching. This is going to be like my tour of uploading and downloading my information to anybody who wants it before I can't do it anymore. But, find a job, figure it out, like that kind of shit. But man, like I have to cut this one. I'm so sorry that this guy's like, to anyone watching, I apologize. I'm a fucking idiot. I just get caught. I got a text from you, and say, hey, you're available 11:30. I'm like, hell yeah, I want to do this. So like, this is a labor of love. I want to actually do this like once, not just this one time, but I want to come back or be a recurring guest with you. I really like you. I really like how you think. I think you're a thinker for people, like for not just for yourself, but for other people. You not only want what's good for you and your family, you want the same thing for everyone around you.
Yeah, man.
And that's what I'm looking for. I think have people like that in my life.
I think like I got no reason not to. I like just fucking shooting the shit with you. I like, what I'm saying? So dude, I think this was great. I think this is great. I really appreciate your time. Before we jump off, 2 quick questions. What was your favorite childhood cartoon?
Oh shit. God, like my first thing I think of when I go to my childhood is Little Rascals, and that wasn't a cartoon.
That kind of works though.
But probably like it was. There was He-Man and G.I. Joe were my core staple.
Dude, I'm a Thundercats, bro. I was big Thundercats fan.
So that would have been. I was already a little bit older.
Yeah.
I was coming out of it, but I still watched Thundercats every morning before I went to school because it was
I definitely watched He-Man.
Snarf is my favorite. Snarf is my favorite. Like I can still growing up when I played with my toys, I played in their voices that were on the cartoon. So I still was at an age where I was mimicking the voices on Thundercats as well. And Snarf was my favorite one to mimic.
All right, question 2. What was your first car?
Oh, a Honda 1982 Honda Accord.
Nice. It was my second car, but I had a 91 Accord that I drove for like 10 years. It was 10 years old when I got it. I drove it for like 10 years. It was I got mine at like 100, like 200,000 and went to like 300,000 or something ridiculous. Yeah. It was probably my second favorite car. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It had a Buick Park Avenue and a hatchback.
Yeah, I had a Buick Park Avenue after that with leather heated seats that I bought from my grandmother. That was my grandfather's when he passed. That thing was like a boat, and I could just cruise right. It was
we have like similar paths because my next car was a '77 Caprice Classic.
Yes, dude.
This thing, you can go bonkers in it. Like you can do like a sidekick and not even touch the other door.
Oh yeah, dude.
It was amazing.
But
God, we're dorks.
All right, Sean, I really appreciate it, man. And we're gonna do this again soon. I appreciate it.
Awesome, and good luck, dude. I hope dude, this is a cool one. I'm glad you're doing it.
Have a good one, man.
You too, brother.
All right, guys. That was Sean Daugherty. Alien Blueprint is his IG. Dude, that's an OG. He has been on, like, he fought in one of the original UFCs. You heard him. That dude has been mixed martial artist since 1997, bro. He's a wildcat, dude. And So thanks for watching. Jiu-Jitsu Collective. We don't ose.